I wanted to talk about some of the changes we're planning on making here at CrossFit Chiltern, especially regarding how we are scaling workouts. The discussion we've been having with coaches over the past few weeks and months is effectively scaling workouts and also changing the mentality of some of the athletes here into focusing more on performance and training benefit than just on scores and times. This weekend, I attended the CrossFit Gymnastics course, which is a fantastic course on ways to improve the way that we coach gymnastics here at the box and also the way that we program and scale gymnastic movements. What you'll see over the coming weeks is a change to how we program and also how we scale gymnastic movements here at the box. And I wanted to go through that with you and the reasons behind it so that you are more knowledgeable when a coach comes to you and asks you to change the way you've been scaling the movement for the last year or so when you've been training. The example I'm going to do today is handstand press ups because it comes up in tomorrow's program, Tuesday's program. I will do some future videos whenever we introduce a new scaling practice. I will bring that in the day before just to give you some explanation as to why we are changing, because I know that it's difficult when you've been doing some scaling options for a long time to then accept that you need to make a change, and it may feel like a step backwards, but actually it's going to give you a huge step forwards. Tomorrow we feature handstand press ups in its strict form, and I'm going to talk about how we're going to scale that. Previously, when we were to see handstand press ups in a workout, in its strict form especially, our scaling options we would give you would be box handstand press ups and pike handstand press ups. There's a major issue with that, and we found it here as coaches. The more that we program it, it's very difficult to perform the exercise well. Not only in terms of grasping the technique, but actually the difficulty of the movement in some cases can actually be harder than a regular handstand press up if you perform it correctly. For example, if I perform a pike handstand press up, now this would often be regarded as the easiest scaling option for a workout, but actually when you perform it correctly, you'll find it's incredibly difficult. I'm going to do my version here. As you know, I'm pretty tight, so my pike is not going to be as tight as an Olympic gymnast or even someone who's a regular box girl. You're going to see a pretty tight hamstring position, but I'm going to get out my feet together into the highest hip position I can maintain. So I'm up on my tiptoes here. I'm going to lower my head down to a tripod, which most people don't end up. And now from this position here, keeping my hips as high as I can, as vertical as I can. I'm going to press that even here. Right, bring my chest as close to my legs as I can. That's an incredibly difficult movement to come out of. And if you're unable to do a handstand press up in a kipping variation, scaling to a pike version is incredibly hard. Even if you're scaling to replace strict handstand, it's also an incredibly challenging movement. So we're going to put those to one side. They're a great training option for developing strength, but you have to be in a pretty strong position before you do those. So we're going to omit those. And the other thing we are going to definitely remove, and I always push to keep these out of training, but some athletes are super reluctant to do so, and that is excessively shortening the range of motion in a handstand press up by performing it with ab mat and lots of plates. Now I'll show you what that looks like first of all. I'm an athlete with fairly long limbs, so I'm going to put a 15 plate, and actually I'm going to go, just to show a bit more obviously, put a 15 plate and a 5 plate, and an ab mat on top there. Get myself set up for my handstand press up. Like so, and you'll see this is how much flexion I've got each time. Represent. You can see the range of motion is well above my head there. pressing out from there. The best way I can describe this is when we scale barbell movements, we are able to adjust the load. And therefore, we just move a lighter barbell. So if we were training our strict press, we would train our strict press and we'd press it up and overhead with just a lighter barbell. What you're doing in this case is you're scaling the range of motion. And that should always be very limited in the times and frequency in which we use that. In this case, the range of motion is so shortened that it would be like getting a barbell at your 1 rep max, holding it above your head and pressing it like this. What we talk about when we're talking about scaling is how transferable is that scaling option to taking us to our goal. Is pressing like this going to make us stronger from a full handstand press? Are we training the muscles in the range we need to be training them? Are we really training pressing to its full extent? And the answer is fairly obviously that no, that isn't the case. It may feel more interesting. You may feel closer to a handstand press up doing so, but unfortunately, if you do that, you're going to get stuck there. Sometimes we may allow a small shortening of the range of motion, especially if someone is particularly close to getting it, and may be the case. But very rarely. I would say a small increase may be at absolute most a 10 plate and an ab mat, not this. And it depends again on the limb length of the athlete. So if someone has particularly short arms and their normal range of motion is here and you have a 10 plate and ab mat, that can make the same motion that I was just doing there. So when a coach tells you that you're not able to do that, please don't be resistant. We're not even having that as an option for tomorrow's workout. The option is going to be very different. We will allow an ab mat for your strict handstand press ups. What we're going to do is we're going to preserve as much as possible, for those of you that are able to get inverted, we're going to preserve that part of the stimulus. So rather than doing a shoulder raise, we're still going to keep the upside down position if you can get in the handstand. And rather than you doing shortened range of motion, you are going to be doing a handstand hold for the period of time of the number of reps. So tomorrow we're having 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 strict handstand press up combined with cleans. So for your strict handstand press ups, you're going to hold 10-second handstand hold for the same duration of seconds as there are reps in the workout. 10 for the round one. What we're going to add to that is an eccentric movement. Eccentric is basically the lowering or the lengthening of the muscle. So in this case, it's our lowering down from that handstand hold. And that's basically simulating that same strict press up movement, but in eccentric, which will enable us to train strength throughout that range. We are going to still have some pressing, but the pressing is going to be in a handstand or a hand release press up. So round one tomorrow is going to be 10-second isometric hold, 10-second eccentric, and 10 reps of hand release press ups. It will look like this. Now, 10-second isometric is incredibly hard, so you're going to strive for that number, and the coach will guide you how you go from there. So I've got an ad mat there. There needs to be a minimum level of strength required. So when we watch you do this, you need to be able to control that. So we will probably start you with a short range just so we can feel that level of control before we start. So you're not just slamming your head down on the mat. Let me just show you what it's going to look like. I'm going to use an ad mat there. If you're a bit more advanced, you can just go straight into a normal mat on the floor. You can put 2 templates either side. of the ab mat. But yeah, we're looking for that. We're looking to still get in this tripod position, which again, the coach will look at tomorrow. If you're in my 615, you'll be there working on that tomorrow. Let me show you. So I'm going to do a 10-second hold in a handstand. Now, excuse my count. Say this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I'm counting it quickly just so you're not waiting, watching here. Then a 10-second, I was going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then I'm going to come down to the floor. I'm into my press up position. And do 10. And release. Etc. Etc. That's 5. Who's counting? Not me. That will be on round 1, etc. etc. So we're building comfort in the top position of the handstand press and strength in that position. We're building strength. Eccentric reps build a lot of strength. Strength in that bottom position, and then we're also training that pressing motion as well under control. All 3 of these are going to have a much bigger bang for your buck than super short in the range of motion. There would definitely be no kipping tomorrow, and really, really, really want you to avoid kipping if you cannot do the strict motion. Why do we not want to kip before strict in any motion? Well, kipping is not a way to develop strength, it's a way to add volume. We need to develop the strength in those positions before we start adding volume. We want you to have at least 1 handstand press up before you start adding kipping motion to it. The reason for that is when you are kipping, you are coming down at a higher speed. And if you haven't got the strength to control that speed and you're doing multiple reps, because kipping allows you to do more reps than you're capable of, your capacity of, you're going to start hurting your neck. Hitting the mat, hitting the mat, hitting the mat, hitting the mat, without having that strength that someone who can do it strict handstand press up has to be able to control it. Let's build that strength first. Those of you that either are unable to kick up into a handstand or just lack the strength to be able to hold that handstand hold, you have a couple of options. If you can't kick up into a handstand, but you can hold a handstand from a wall walk, you can go up into a wall walk. Alternatively, you would do a plank hold for the same duration of seconds. We're going to follow the same format as we did for the previous scaling with the negative and then the regular pressing action. The difference being that we're going to be in that plank position. So yes, if you can do a wall walk hold, you can do that for this scaling option, but don't do the negative from that wall walk. So I'll just show you that first of all. So if you're able to do a wall walk into a handstand, then do this, walk in, hold that for the duration of the round, so it's around 10 reps. You do a 10-second hold, come out. If you are not doing the handstand, you replace that with a 10-second plank hold. And we want the plank to be in a full hollow. So we're going to go here, and then we're going to draw our ribs down, squeeze our bum in. It's really strong. You can see I'm quite rounded there. That's me creating this hollow position. And then we're going to do a negative. So then our 10-second hold, either in the plank or in the handstand. We then do our 10-second negative. Make this the hardest variation of press up you can do when you can't do even. So just outside your rounds, 10 seconds down, and then you're going to do 10 hand release press ups that you can do. So maybe you go onto your knees, squeeze your abs, and you do your 10 hand release press ups. From there. So we have, for all your scaling, an isometric hold, or a static hold, whatever you want to call it, equivalent to the number of reps. So if it's a 10 rep round, you 10-second hold. You then do a negative, equivalent to the number of reps. So if it's a 10 rep round, do a 10-second lower. That's what an eccentric rep is, or a negative rep is. And then you do a pressing action that is the equivalent to the number of reps in that round. So if you've got a 10 rep round, you do 10 presses from there. You may think, well, that sounds a lot longer than 10 strict handstand press ups. For most athletes, 10 strict handstand press ups will not be done in one set. I know we have maybe one or two that could do 10 strict handstand press ups in one, but most people do them in 2 to 3 sets. You will be doing this work, and it will take you the equivalent amount of time as it would do those athletes who are kicking down, kicking back up, resting in between, and you will get a much greater training effect from that. This will take you towards your target in bigger strides. I hope that you embrace this new method we're implementing. Trust me when I say we don't do these things just to annoy you or to wind up. Everything that I implement is because I know it's going to move us forward. If I thought the other way was going to move us forward, why would I change it? Because it would cause me less hassle to just leave you as you are. I think if we find anything that's going to get you there quicker, more safely, more effectively, then we need to get onto that as much as we can. Myself and the coaches here are really dedicated to making sure that we provide the best training possible to give you the best results possible. You just have to embrace that. And if you do so, you will reap the benefits. So please, those of you coming to class tomorrow or doing handstand presses in the future, embrace these new scaling options that we're putting in. Don't be upset that we've removed previous options. They still had benefit, but this we believe will give you the greater benefit. So we want to make sure that we're implementing whatever gives you the biggest bang for your buck. There will be other workouts later on in the month and the week where we make some changes. So again, please embrace what we say to you and take it on board with good spirit, and you will reap those benefits. Thanks, guys. I'm excited to see you in tomorrow morning's class, and the rest of you, good luck with the rest of the sessions that day.